The best European Championship balls of all time ranked. The balls at the European Championships have always been Adidas' game. The sportswear giants produced the first ball in 1960 and have offered up a further 13 in the years since. While some haven't always hit the heights expected of them, some of the Euros balls are fondly remembered as some of the greatest to ever grace a pitch. Here's a rundown of some of the best balls ever seen at the Euros. A turning point in the history of footballs, the Terrestra introduced a new, softer layer on the ball's surface, making it easier to control and far more accurate. It was that extra control that gifted us glorious efforts from the likes of Stefano Fiori, Raul Gonzalez and Alessandro Del Piero, but the Terrestra's greatest moment came as it pinged off the bar and into the back of the France net, courtesy of a worldy free kick from Frank de Boer. It might not have been the most visually attractive ball, but it's what it signified that makes the Terrestra so good. Euro 1996 was the first time Adidas offered up some color on their ball, and their combination of lions and red roses only increased the hype for England's tournament. Similar to the ball used in 1994 at the World Cup, the Questra allowed for some great goals, but it also brought a few complaints from goalkeepers about its unpredictability, which was half the fun of it. This was the ball that gave us Gazza's fantastic goal against Scotland, so it deserves a place in all our hearts. Taking inspiration from the famous Brazuca from 2 years earlier, the Boju had some big shoes to fill in 2016, and it didn't do a half-bad job of it. The seamless texture made it every footballer's dream, as it could be controlled perfectly, although its rough service meant knuckle balls were a thing of the past. For goalkeepers, that's good, but for fans sat at home begging for a screamer, it was a bit of a letdown. The Boju might have ranked higher on this list, but it didn't even make it to the end of Euro 2016. UEFA swapped it out for the fracas at the knockout stage, which was the first time we'd ever seen two balls at one tournament. We're yet to see what the Uniforia will offer us on the pitch, but purely based on looks, it deserves a spot high up this list. Featuring elements from what was supposed to be all 12 host nations, Bilbao was replaced by Seville and Dublin were bumped off altogether. The brushstroke design makes this ball look fantastic, and there's every reason to believe it'll play perfectly, too. The seamlessness and thermal bonding is back for the Uniforia, which has been billed as Adidas' greatest ball ever. A bold claim indeed. How iconic was the Retero? That stunning silver ball still lives on in our hearts. This was actually the first ball to be thermally bonded, and it ended up being surprisingly lightweight. It didn't appeal to those old-school players, but for those who wanted a fast-paced, exciting game, the Retero was a delight. In every park across England, you'd find these balls stuck in trees or lost in bushes, with kids trying a little too hard to be Cristiano Ronaldo or Wayne Rooney. From an actual performance point of view, the early Telstars were a bit rubbish. They did the job and people were just happy to have something to play with. However, from an aesthetic point of view, cold. Whenever you think of a retro football, you think of these old-school Telstars, which were named after a satellite which looked vaguely similar to this ball. It stands the test of time. Brought in for the 1978 World Cup, the Tango became the epitome of football. The design and structure was almost perfect, so much so that Adidas didn't force any major changes until 2002. The specific model used for Euro 1980, the River Plate, was just a football. It didn't need to be flashy or futuristic, it was just a football. It was better than anything that came before it and have us over 20 years of iconic memories. This model was so pure. Base white with a black netting design, the River Plate featured the kind of bold Adidas branding which has dominated modern fashion. 40 years of culture, all stemming from this one ball. After the chaos caused by the Jabulani at the 2010 World Cup, Adidas went back to their roots with the Tango 12. With 32 panels, compared to the Jabulani's 8, the Tango 12 actually moved like a football and didn't make goalkeepers across the world want to